Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Jenna Nannetti. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Jenna Nannetti was born on March 5, 1985, and lived in Livermore, California. This is 44 miles east of San Francisco. Jenna's home life growing up was challenging. Her father was frequently incarcerated for drinking and driving. She ended up living with her grandparents. Academically, Jenna's performance was substandard. She attended an alternative school. In late 2001 or early 2002, she met a 20-year-old man named Michael Joseph Simons, who went by the name Mike. He had a troubled history that included negative interactions with law enforcement. Mike worked at a local car dealership, washing and detailing automobiles. In June 2002, Jenna and Mike married. As a wedding gift, Jenna's grandmother, Linda Nannetti, bought her a blue 1989 Ford Mustang. In order to save money to get a place of their own, Mike moved into the home of Jenna's grandmother, Linda, where Jenna lived. Just 4 months into their marriage, Mike left Linda's residence and moved in with a teenage lover named Catherine Bellflower. Catherine went by the name Katie. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On October 7, 2002, at about 3 a.m., the police responded to a report of a motor vehicle fire on Grant Line Road in Alameda County, California. A car was burning in the parking lot of the Mountain House Bar. Firefighters arrived and extinguished the flames. Here's what the police found during the course of their investigation. The burned vehicle was a blue 1989 Ford Mustang registered to Jenna's grandmother, Linda Nannetti. Nobody was in the vehicle. Linda explained to the police how the Mustang was a wedding gift to her granddaughter, Jenna. Linda said that Jenna had left in the Mustang during the evening of October 6 to meet with her husband, Mike. The police were unable to reach Jenna. 12 days later, on October 19, 2002, a fisherman found Jenna's body in Holt, California. Investigators determined that Jenna had been struck in the chest with multiple shotgun blasts. Jenna's husband, Mike, was an obvious potential suspect, but the police didn't have much evidence against him. Officers investigated Jenna's murder thoroughly, but did not have success in finding her killer. There were concerns that the case would become cold. About 6 months after the murder, there was a surprising new development in the case. During the early morning hours of March 1, 2003, a park police officer was driving on Mendenhall Road near Livermore when he noticed a car on the side of the road with its headlights on. The officer pulled over and encountered 3 people outside the vehicle. Katie, who was the woman who Mike left Jenna for, a friend of Katie's named Jeff Hamilton, and another one of Katie's friends named Aspen Lum. The scene was confusing. The officer noticed that Jeff was holding a rope, and both Jeff and Katie were wearing latex gloves. Jeff and Katie explained the gloves, saying that Aspen was sick. The officer was a little suspicious, but allowed Jeff and Katie to take Aspen home. She only lived right down the road. This seems like a particularly poor decision when considering the gloves and the rope, but I guess the officer didn't find that too strange. 2 minutes after the officer allowed them to leave, he was contacted by dispatch and informed that Aspen's father reported her missing. The officer immediately pursued the vehicle he had just let go. He pulled over Jeff and Katie, but by this time they had already dropped Aspen off with her family. The officer then received another update from dispatch saying that Aspen had told her family that Jeff and Katie tried to strangle her. Other officers were called in and placed Jeff and Katie under arrest. Katie denied any wrongdoing, but Jeff had a lot to say to the police, including about Jenna's murder. Eventually, Katie also confessed. Here is the story that Katie and Jeff supplied to the police. Jenna's husband, Mike Simons, came to believe that if Jenna died, he would receive $100,000 from her life insurance policy. This wasn't true, but that's what he thought. He broke up with Jenna and moved in with Katie. The pair conspired to kill Jenna because they wanted to use the insurance money to buy a house. The homicidal plan they developed required a vehicle. This is where Jeff Hamilton comes into the picture. He had a Dodge Neon. If he made it available for use in the murder, Katie and Mike promised him that he could live with them when they purchased their house. Katie obtained a Remington shotgun, and Mike purchased shotgun shells. The plan involved knocking Jenna unconscious with a baseball bat, then taking her to another location and killing her with the shotgun. The trio of conspirators, again, Katie, Mike, and Jeff, put their plan into motion on October 6, 2002. Under the guise of working on their marriage, Mike lured Jenna to Katie's residence. Jenna still wanted to reconcile with Mike, even after everything he had done. As Mike and Jenna were talking outside Katie's residence, Katie struck Jenna in the head with a baseball bat. Jenna was not rendered unconscious as expected. Instead, she became angry and tried to retaliate against Katie. Jenna called her grandmother, Linda, and left her a message saying that she had been involved in an altercation with another female. She also left a voicemail for her father saying, quote, "Call me now. I probably got a concussion. I just got hit upside the head with a baseball bat or whatever the blanket was. I need your help. Call me," unquote. Mike acted like he had no idea why Katie just attacked Jenna. He offered to drive Jenna home. On the way, he convinced her to go with him to a place called Whiskey Slough. Katie was going to be there, and this would give Jenna an opportunity to get revenge. Jenna agreed to this plan. On the way to Whiskey Slough, Mike purchased fuel for Jenna's Ford Mustang. When they arrived, Katie and Jeff were already waiting in Jeff's Dodge Neon. Mike exited the Mustang, retrieved the shotgun from the Dodge Neon, then shot Jenna multiple times. She did not die. Therefore, Mike reloaded the weapon and shot her again. This time he accomplished his homicidal goal. After dragging Jenna's body into the grass while mocking her weight, the conspirators drove the Mustang to Mountain House Bar and set it on fire using a road flare. Katie, Jeff, and Mike were arrested in connection with Jenna's murder. In early 2005, Jeff Hamilton pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. He was later sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. He cooperated with investigators and testified against Mike. In July 2005, Katie Bellflower pleaded guilty to murder and was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. In October 2005, Mike Simons was convicted of murder and received life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. There was never any doubt about the guilt of the offenders in this case. Katie, Jeff, and Mike confessed. It's not clear if Mike understood that he was confessing. He claimed that he never pulled the trigger, but admitted to taking part in the murder. Even if he wasn't the trigger man, he would still be guilty of felony murder. Item number 2. How does the attempted murder of Aspen fit in with Jenna's murder? Why did Katie and Jeff try to kill Aspen? As it turns out, Katie and Mike broke up on February 14, 2003. Katie believed that Mike was pursuing Aspen romantically. She viewed Aspen as a rival and was jealous. Katie was pregnant with Mike's child by this point and desperately wanted to reunite with him. To achieve this goal, she decided to kill Aspen. Jeff was enamored with Katie, therefore it was easy for her to convince him to assist her with the murder. Katie told investigators that one of the reasons she selected homicide to solve her problem was because it had been so easy to get away with killing Jenna. Item number 3. Jenna was described as unpopular romantically, willing to be aggressive if necessary, a poor student, and self-conscious about her weight. Her father was not a good role model for her. For example, when she left that message for her father after being struck by a baseball bat, he had just been released from his 11th drunk driving conviction. Mike was an undesirable romantic partner in just about every imaginable way. Jenna probably pursued him because she was desperate not to be alone. This brings me to item number 4. Mike had a challenging childhood. His mother was out of the picture early in his life, and his father went to prison. He was raised by an aunt who adopted him. Mike was described as a loser who was obsessed with women and alcohol. He found himself in trouble for stealing a car in Oakland and worked a series of low-level jobs, like at a Jack in the Box and a Walmart. Mike tried to convince people that he was highly religious and would become offended when expletives were used around him. He had a fascination with the military and would wear camouflage clothing and a beret. He tried to enter the military, but was rejected due to his criminal record. Item number 5. Katie was described as a poor student, socially awkward, physically unattractive, gaunt, promiscuous, jealous, angry, expressionless, melancholy, talkative, and eager to please. She would often become aggressive, but would back down if someone stood up to her. Katie would frequently target men to have sex with her. She preferred men who had girlfriends. This made her popular with males and unpopular with females. After having sex with a man, Katie would typically dump him right away. She only enjoyed the passion-filled excitement which characterized the very early stage of romance. When Katie was arrested, she did not appear to have any sense of how much trouble she was in. She told a police officer, quote, "You know what? After spending the night in juvenile hall, I learned my lesson," unquote. During an interview with investigators, Katie demonstrated why she had a reputation for being emotionless. She did not cry at all about Jenna's murder. The only time she cried during the interview was when the detective told her that Mike still loved her. Item number 6. Jeff was described as shy, a loner, and someone who probably never had a girlfriend. He wanted to go to culinary school, but at the time he was arrested, he drove a Zamboni at an ice rink. Jeff was romantically interested in Katie and would do anything for her. This brings me to item number 7. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Everybody involved in this story was unsophisticated, immature, impulsive, irresponsible, socially awkward, self-centered, unproductive, and had terrible decision-making skills. Love for someone or something they could not have was a motivator for each individual. Mike was in love with sex and alcohol. Jenna was in love with Mike. Katie was in love with Mike. And Jeff was in love with Katie. All the players focused entirely on the perceived upsides of committing crimes. The planning of serious crimes took place as if it meant absolutely nothing. No one appeared to have any appreciation of consequences. A good example of this occurred when the officer interrupted the attack on Aspen by Katie and Jeff. Katie allegedly told Aspen, "I'm sorry, don't tell anybody." Like somehow that would make the whole attempted murder part just go away. I think a lesson that can be learned in this case is the importance of young people being supervised. One theme is how none of the offenders were subject to appropriate monitoring. They were pretty much allowed to do whatever they wanted. Their most immature desires drove their behavior and unlocked a world where anything was possible, including homicide. These incompetent criminals were just one talking dog short of being full-blown Scooby-Doo villains, although I think even Scooby and Shaggy would have found this case comically simplistic. I can picture Shaggy during the unmasking at the end of the episode saying, like Zoinks, it's Jeff Hamilton, the Zamboni driver. Those are my thoughts on the case of Jenna Nannetti. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.